Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender in Europe, game designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. This is the East First campaign series, and we are getting ready to go into November of 1942. France is on the ropes, and away we go. There's no declarations of war. Oh, we were resetting. I was explaining to him the supply rules, where the zones of control are, that he wouldn't be in supply for the 3rd Panzer, and he was like, oh, okay, well. So I had mentioned this in the last video, so we're just explaining the supply rules there. So I let him take back that move so he'd stay in full supply. And we get to the economy phases. France gets one from England, French give one to the Turks. We go to strategic warfare. I have some bombed markers up here. So I'm +4 to his +0 because he doesn't have a plane in Stavanger, and I still own Brest. And I believe that he has, let me check here. Yes, he had submarines and I had nothing to play. So he played them. So he rolled a 3. I rolled a 4 + 4, which is halved. 8 is halved to 4. So he got back a factory. So now the Germans will be at full production. And then he got his sums back in 2 turns. We go to movement phase. And he moved, I believe, his armored unit that was in Königsberg. Go back a step, see it's in Königsberg. He moves it over there and then had to go find the strategic move marker and bring it over to mark the unit. For the west, I decided to move the guy out of Cairo up to Haifa. And the Soviets, I don't think, had one. So we went into Axis operations. I come over here and he's basically just, it's poor weather, so it's just trade-off sorties to keep the French Air Force out of it. And he activates this armored unit. Goes 1, 2, 3 for the river, 4, 5 for the city, 6, 7 for the unit. There's an assault. Has this guy assault. And just went with those. I think we go to combat commitment. Or did we? No, I don't think. I think we'd already done that part. So we're setting the numbers here. So right now he's 2 + 2 - 2. 1 for the weather, 1 for the city. And I'm at +1. Now we go to combat commitment. It's kind of like a no-brainer. Everybody commits. I only have a tank. He throws in his heavy artillery. And an airplane, I believe. So he was at 2, 3, 4, 5. And he threw in his tanks as well. So he ended up at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with the airplane. -2 put him at +6 to my +2. And he rolled an 11, which guaranteed that I'd have to at least retreat. I rolled a 4, which was not only retreated but flipped. The airplane just flew away. It doesn't really matter. And then he thought about whether he wanted to take it or attack with the armored unit, and decided that this would be the easier way to do it. Then he activates up here. Goes 1, 2. He went around. He went like this. 1, 2. So he went there first. And it called an assault on me, of course. Then he moves this infantry to there and has just enough points to do an assault. And then he brings this armored unit up to assault as well. So now he's 3, 4, 5, 6 before combat commitment. And he throws in an airplane here. Oh, did we go to combat commitment? I don't think we did. I think we're just setting the numbers. Yeah, we went to combat commitment. Alright. I kind of blew through that. Again, he was at a net of 6, just to do the math. It was 1, 2 for this armor, 3 for this armor, 4, 5, 6, 7. How did we get him up to 8? It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Should have been 7 minus, yeah, 7 minus 1 is 6. And I was 2 because I'm 1 for French and 1 for armor. So again, it was a 6 to 2. He rolled that 11. I was, no matter what you roll, an 11 to an 8 is an automatic retreat. So I was forced to retreat. Then he ran the Yugoslavs up. Just so you can see that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Takes Cherbourg, and then everything stops while we delete the French army from the map and elsewhere. He gets he placed the pro marker there, put a pro marker in the cup. What does he do? Oh, I started putting down control markers. And then he put the pro marker in Italy, put one in the cup, and he goes up to, he gets 8 more, and he was at 76. That's too much. He was at 76 plus 8. He should be at 84, not 85. So we'll correct that. He moves his garrison in to take Marseille. And I think he flies his airplane. We were looking at this and we're like, I swear that he had walked around and captured all these cities with this low supply guy. He spent many, many turns earlier in the game, so I think when it was converted to the new thing, it switched the control markers. So we just switched those back. Flies his airplane up there and then goes into Stavanger. So he'll get his +1 from now on. And then he flew an airplane up towards Bremen for, to try and deal with Bomber Command a bit. Then he spends some points to move his armored unit. We were trying to count again. That's where he ends up. And then he moves the Africa army on a road trip too. And this infantry marches off towards the east. When we get to the end game phase, we realize that we blew through diplomacy, and I had to point out to him that the Soviets might come in and he would not get a chance to get Italy. So we retconned some things here. when we get there. And he started moving him 10. It's like, no, you can only go 8. And he moves this infantry into Le Havre. This infantry into Amsterdam. And brought this garrison back down to so he can go like sit in Rotterdam or something. And we put up his airplanes, and I started trying to do some counting. I couldn't quite reach there. So I came around and went into Metz. And minus a bunch. And he decided not to. Not to intercept since he only had one sortie on it available. He wanted to save it. Go to the Soviets. I didn't do a thing with the Soviets. There was absolutely nothing to do. So we skip through the no supply phase. We go to replacements. This is where we retcon back to this point to allow him to fix some things later on. He started to take down all his airplanes, but he didn't save any points for diplomacy. With the British, I did nothing because I wanted to bring down as much as I could to reset for a possible battalion entry, which I did. This is a mistake on my part. I should have upgraded the Western Desert Force to the 8th Army. I keep forgetting to do that. So when we go back in retcon, I'm going to ask him if I can do that, because when we get to this point, I do decide to go upgrade some Russian ground units to more guards, because Russia hopefully is going to come in soon. So I put one there, and then I put one there. So kind of like where he's weakest in the line, I put my best units to try and bust through and take back some of the Ukraine here. And got rid of those units. Mobilization. I did build the Russian shock army up in Veluki. And I think here's where and then I also built my convoy in the Black Sea. And we kind of blew through the diplomacy phase. We're doing end of turn stuff, and this is when we actually come out at the end of the turn here, where he starts getting all his stuff back. And the economic reforms go out there. He's now up to 2 of those. So next turn he will be at 15 minus 1 is 14 plus 2. So he'll be at 16. He'll have 32 production points next turn. And then when we got to this point, I pointed out that the Russian treaty, there's a 50-50 chance that he's like, well, I'll have a chance to roll for it next turn. I said, well, if I roll 4, 5, or 6, you won't. And after we discussed that a little bit, I'm like, I really think you want to at least take the one shot that you're guaranteed of having of getting Italy in the war, don't you? And he said, well, yeah, that makes sense. And so I said, well, let's retcon this a bit, because we hadn't rolled any dice at this point since the last attack. And I put my American stuff out here. I had forgotten about it in the production phase. So now we went to the diplomacy cup, and this was me explaining to him. I said, you have 2 pros, 1 failure, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a grand total of 8. He has a 25% chance of pulling a pro marker. So we put him back in the cup, and he's like, yeah, I would like to retcon some things. So he put this guy back up to 5 where he belonged. He didn't take those 3 points. And he didn't take the 3 points in Dijon. So that gave him 6. I said, well, now you have an extra point that you probably would have spent. So if you want to move like this garrison in Dijon up to Calais or something, go ahead. And so he did. And then we went to the diplomacy phase where he spent, and this is where I should have asked to be able to upgrade my armored unit in the Middle East. So I think he'll give me that. And so he spent his 5 and he pulls and he got his pro Axis. So that's going to go back onto the turn track, and then he gets to activate Italy. And so he starts trying to figure out how to set up Italy, and at some point here I just said, he's like, I was not prepared for Italy to come in this turn. He hadn't really done his homework on how he would set them up. So we put their counters on the track. He started trying to place units around. I said, what do you say if we just stop it here? So let's get to that. So I just said, let's stop here. We'll pick up at this part of the diplomacy phase next session. Give him some time to sit and figure out where he wants all these Italians to actually live, because, you know, he wants to guard some of North Africa. He wants to make sure I don't, grab Sardinia and other such things. So he's kind of trying to figure out where to put his units and stuff. And I said, I think you need some time to sort this out. And so we ended here. So that is November of 1942. We will pick up with the diplomacy phase, the finishing diplomacy phase of the Germans. They'll have set up the Italians by then. I will message him and ask him if I can take the upgrade for the British, because I haven't taken it for like 4 turns. And I've been meaning to do it. I wanted to do it for this guy here so that I can guard the Middle East against Italian incursions. I was going to do that, and I keep forgetting to do it. So he got Italy. I think he'll give me that upgrade. Okay. So there you have it. Relatively short session here. That was November 1942. I'm Dren608. If you like my videos, please subscribe. Hit that like button. Keeps the algorithms happy and lets other people find this game. Replays. And until we meet again, stay safe and bye-bye.